So today we've come to visit paratrooper and ex-Royal Engineer Mark Billy Baxter and get his story. So join me, let's meet Billy and let's get his story.
Right, my name's Billy Baxter, real name's Mark. First day I joined PowerEdge in 1991. Somebody called me Billy Baxter and it stuck. It stuck for the next 24 years. So be it, it's Billy Baxter. Done 8 years with the 1st Battalion, the Parachute Regiment. At the 6-year point, I decided I wanted to go for a transfer. Took me 2 years to transfer to join the Corps of Royal Engineers. Went across to Jib, done all my training, and done the next 16 years with the Royal Engineers.
Okay, well, so 24 years, that's some, and 2 very distinct cap badges there.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in detail a bit later. So let me ask you, Bill, why did you join?
I was working for my dad. I was doing an apprenticeship, plumbing apprenticeship. Me and my dad clashed quite badly. But obviously if you work for your dad and you're living at home, if you clash at work, you clash at home. I was looking for an out. I went past one of the recruitment drives once. Really only took one look. Decided that's what I wanted to do. Parents were willing to sign me off to junior leaders, where I was actually joining as an engineer at 16. Unfortunately, got up to Chepstow, doctor said cough, and then said, you've got a hernia, see you later. Rejoined at 18 and went PowerEdge, and the rest is history.
So why go PowerEdge if initially you went engineers?
I'm really bad at maths. When the criteria to be a junior leader was not quite as high as when you're a regular soldier. So when I redone the test, I basically screwed the maths up completely. They gave me very limited options because of the scores I got. And I know for the old and bold, it's the old domino test. How you can screw that up is beyond me. But I saw PowerEdge down there, and I had an uncle, won't mention names, and he basically turned around and said, I had to go for that when I was younger, and I couldn't do it, so you won't. Well, they'd rag to a bull.
Indeed.
So, yeah, that's what I went and did. However, PowerEdge really wasn't for me. So I put in for that transfer. And to me, it was the best thing I ever done. It was the best thing, certainly, for my career, which wasn't exactly a flyer. 24-year sergeant. You've got a nasty habit of telling people where to get off. That's what happens. Yeah, I speak my mind.
Yeah, you're not the only one, Bill. You're not the only one. All right, your tools and experiences then. This should be quite interesting. You've done a good few years with the Paras. I know what's coming, but let's start there. Your tools and experiences with the Paras.
Simple. Ireland. It was 3 pre-ceasefire. I did the ceasefire tour, and then I did 2 post-ceasefire, which, to be fair, wasn't much different. The ceasefire tour was very quiet because everybody's trying to honour a ceasefire. But after that all calmed down, there wasn't that much difference. There wasn't as many car bombs, prig attacks, roadside bombs. But you still got all the usual kneecappings, all the rest of it. All the searches were still happening, which you got to go out and you got to protect on the cordon, because obviously I'm infantry. Yeah, but all we did was backwards and forwards to Ireland. When I actually left PowerEdge is when they started going all over the world and doing all the various different things that they're quite famous for now.
Yeah.
But that's hindsight. That's nothing I can say. I'd already made the decision by that point and went to the Royal Engineers.
Okay, so what tours did you do with the Royal Engineers then?
2 Bosnias, Kosovo, 3 Iraqs. Sure there was another one in there. Yeah, I think it was 3 Iraqs. And then the rest of them were jollies, to be honest. We did a couple of Americas and stuff like that. But yeah, they were the op tours. For myself, personally, I'm glad I didn't do Afghan. That's not me being a coward. But Afghan as EOD, that's asking for it. I'm short enough as it is without losing my legs.
Yeah, believe you me, I've done Afghan, and you would have been busy. I mean,
Very.
the EOD guys were busy. Then, what was your role in the Engineers? Did you start off in something particular, or did you go to one trade and stay in it the whole way through?
I went in as combat engineer, obviously, first. And then I done me plumbing. Purely because, I don't know whether I was honouring my dad or what, but I went through and done my plumbing course. I've never physically done any plumbing for the Royal Engineers in the whole 16 years. I fixed some shitters in Iraq once, but I was there doing an EOD tour. Don't ask. But no, initially I went out as a combat engineer, a 2-1 Engineer Regiment Dog Squadron in Osnabrück, Roberts Barracks, which is an armoured engineer squadron. So the first... In fact, no, I'm talking rubbish. That's where I first went, and I was a combat engineer.
Okay.
From there, I got posted to 3-3. With 3-3 engineer in Cambridge, EOD regiment, that's where I went out and started doing my tours. So we were still in snatches on the first tour. I can't remember the name of the first camp. I think it might have been Scheibe, the big one. And then the next 2 tours we'd moved up to the 80 wagons. Can't remember what they were called. They were the newer ones, but the 80 had 6 wheels and we only had 4 wheels. That's all I knew. But it was a damn sight more protected than a snatch ever was.
Well,
we did move up to Basra Airfield for the last 2 because Scheibe
closed down.
Yeah, it got closed down.
Yeah, I was at Scheibe when it closed. I was
Right.
I was. Okay, so EOD, that's going to interest a lot of people. What sort of things did you face when you were in Iraq then?
Because then, when I was a 4-screw for a start, so I was 802, working from a BDO. He was a sergeant. Again, I'm not going to name names because I know he's still in. Back then, you had 2 specific roles. You had the ATOs, who dealt with IEDs, and you had REBD, who dealt with mortars, grenades, rockets, AP mines, landmines, anything like that got found, anything that had basically been fired.
Okay.
So we dealt with that. They dealt with improvised IEDs. So yeah, we done basically normal munitions, but we're talking from a Chinese 107 up to £3,000 American bombs that have been dropped in the wrong place. Wrong, whether it is or wrong or right, don't know. Disarming, basically blow it.
Yeah.
Because we REBD don't strip down. If you get there and it's live, you make it go away.
Okay.
It's that simple. Yeah, take away the threat.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Now, for those that are watching this that don't know, REBD stands for Royal Engineers Bomb Disposal.
Correct.
And ATO, what's that? Is that Ammunition Technical Officer?
That's the one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Check me out.
But
I still remember.
they're the ones. They've got the robots.
Yeah.
The suits.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are cutting wires and stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. It did go to a joint course, and when I got picked up my sergeant, I done the course that turns everyone into an all arms IEDD operator, which means you do the REBD course, and you do got Kyneton and a couple of other places it was there at the time, and you do that course as well. So you're all intermingled. So it was a joint force thing.
Yeah.
All different regiments. Can't think of the word now. Yeah, anyone can apply.
Yeah, because well, certainly in my day it was badge specific to,
It was
to
RLC.
task.
Yeah, it was RLC.
And the engineers did their bit.
Yep.
Because that's what engineers do.
Yep.
You know, they don't just build bridges; they blow shit up as well.
Yep.
And enjoy it. I know I've done my because I was recce. I did support troopers.
Yep.
Course, so denial and demolitions, and I did mine in where did I do it? Senlager. Was it Hamel, I think. I don't know. But we ended up in this forest, and they
If
just
you're
gave
blowing
us,
stuff up, I guarantee you it was bleeding Senlager.
well, we ended up somewhere in this big pit that looked like a bomb crater. It probably was from the Second World War, and they just brought boxes and boxes of C4
Yep.
and reels of deck cord, and it's amazing.
P4.
PE4.
We're not American.
Oh, yeah, sorry. PE4. I do apologise. The memory is a bit hazy. I'm getting on now. But I remember we had loads and loads of deck cord left, and the instructor said, "Right, make that deck cord go away." So we wrapped it around this tree.
Yep.
I mean, this tree. It wasn't small. It was a big old tree, and then we set it away. And just with the deck cord, this thing, it must have gone past the moon. I mean, it never came back.
Yeah.
It just disappeared. I mean, it was a good laugh. It was a good laugh. I mean, you know.
A lot of people don't realise the explosive value of a detonator or deck cord. They just see it as blue string to make that go bang. No, that's not the case.
Well, exactly. It's
A
powerful.
det will take your hand off.
Yeah. Yeah.
As you just said, the deck cord will cut a tree in half.
Yeah. And you don't even need to use as much as we did. It was
Yes.
a shaped charge.
Yes.
And it was designed to take out vehicles, and
Yeah.
we did it. You had the
And then
the
they
practice
covered it in
one.
styrofoam, and then threw sand over it to disguise it. It just looked like a rock.
Yeah.
That's what they brought in. Oh, I can't remember what the electronic device was called. It was the square boxes that got attached to the front of every vehicle. Sent out an infrared beam.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it was command wire, didn't affect it. But that's what the search teams were there for. But them shape charges, if you got one solid big shape charge, it's going to work. If you've got lots of little shape charges, it's still really going to work.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing.
They did. You know, and lots found out the hard way.
Far too many.
Far too many, of course. So we've touched on sort of experiences and that. Obviously for entertainment value, we'll get on to funnies in a bit. But let's hear some war stories. Let's swing a light. Have you got any? I mean, not everybody has a war story. Some people just have the Naffy Bar punch-ups. But have you got any war stories?
Well, the Naffy Bar one's quite easy. I gobbed off, then I got battered. You know, that's the end of that conversation. War stories? No, not really. Standing joke. Because I got sent home from tour. We were collecting munitions from a police station. Can't remember exactly where it was, but it was on a really massive trailer that I'd not actually seen before being pulled by a big tank. My tank recognition, don't go there. It was a big tank. We sandbagged it all, we was putting these munitions in, and I stepped backwards. Bearing in mind this thing's about 7 foot high. I'm a midget, so that's massive. Went out, done my ankle. To the point where if you can't run for cover when you get mortar attack, they just send you home. So, doctor said, right, you're going home. My boss managed to get me a lift because we was in an outpost. Could have been Alamara, to be honest. I think it was. And he went, right, I've got you a US helicopter. Take you back to Shiba. and then from there you'll be on the next medevac back to Germany, and we'll get your ankle sorted. I went, right, okay. What sort of US helicopter is it? And he just giggled, walked away. And I thought, well, there's no need for that. He didn't mean American. He meant unserviceable. It was his last ever flight. They had no seats in it, no straps in it, no nothing. I literally got turfed into the back of this thing. The fact that it flew was quite amazing. And then it got skeletonized. It got ripped apart for other vehicles to get fixed with. But my God, when he said US, I thought, well, all right, yeah, it's going to be, it won't just come in on its own. The Americans never move by themselves. You know, it's going to be protected by an Apache or something. I don't know. No, he meant unserviceable. Yeah.
So you were expecting a scene out of The Deer Hunter?
Yeah, that's not what I got. That's really not what I got. But achieved the aim.
Yeah, absolutely. But you mentioned your ankle there, but it's obviously not what's happened now. You've got a Meccano set that you've been playing with by the looks of it, and you've built yourself a little sled. Probably actually modelled on that helicopter that was US that you looked about. Cause
this has probably got more on it.
It's got the skids, but it hasn't got the body. So what have you done there, you lunatic?
I've been out since 2015. So obviously if I joined in 91. When I first got out, I started on bin lorries down in Fareham, which is Gosport, Portsmouth way. I met my missus. I had an issue with a manager, but a lot of people had an issue with him. My missus was having issues at her work. We both really weren't happy, so she said, do you mind if we just flog everything, move up north, back to where I'm from? I didn't have a problem with it, so we moved up to Northumberland, up to here. When I got up here, I started truck driving. Tramping, as they call it. So start on a Monday, finish on a Friday. I was delivering down in Thirsk, Middlesbrough way. Almost finished. Midday on a Friday. And unfortunately, the forklift driver, I'll just say he didn't see me because there's still a legal investigation going on, and blatantly reversed straight over the top of me. So it smashed my ankle to bits, ligament damage, tendons, and the biggest one, which I'm still waiting for, is it deboned me. It ripped off a hell of a lot of skin. So I'm still waiting for the heel to grow back, and the other skin grafts are pretty much taken and sorted now, but I'm just waiting for some heel because I can't put any pressure down.
Yeah, hence the skids.
Yeah.
All right, so achievements in whilst you were serving, what would you class as achievements for yourself?
P Company, massive one, because no matter how you look at it, who you are, that ain't easy.
No, it's not. You've got your wings. You only get them, and you only get to wear them, and get the berry if you do everything.
P Company, that's definitely a hard thing. You really push yourself to the limit on that one. Bryce Norton, that's, as long as you don't stop at the door, you're all right.
The rest down.
Yeah, the rest of the
not with the
time,
plane.
because of my height and weight, I always got a heavier Bergen to compensate.
Yeah.
To the point where I couldn't walk. So I waddled down the plane. I usually couldn't run at the same speed as everyone else. I know you're not supposed to run, but that's what we did. So by the time I got to the door, a PGI grabbed hold of me, and I was going out that door no matter what. So I don't say I jumped. I got thrown every time. But that's just because I couldn't bloody move. I had that much weight on me because the chute can only take so much. And I'm short.
Yeah. Right, so any other achievements, Bill?
The BD course, that was a biggie. It's not easy, for obvious reasons. It's not meant to be easy. But like I said, I did the REBD, which I found bloody hard, especially the last week, test week, because you are literally thrown in the deep end get this right or fail. Simple as that. And you get, I think it's 3 or 4 tasks. Found that bloody hard work, but got through it. And then, like I said, I was also on the Joint Forces side of life. Went up to Kyneton, and that one I found really, really hard. I just couldn't get my head around their way of thinking, because they're thinking forensics. Now you've got to think about a robot. You've got more people in your team. You've got a lot more to think about. The fact that you become the incident commander straight away. I've always had it in my mindset, I'm there to deal with ammunition. Right, it's live, it's threat, make it go away. When you get up to IEDD level, there's a lot more involved, and I just couldn't get my head around it. I really couldn't. My questioning technique was fucking terrible. I failed that course. I'm not proud of it, but I did. But I won't say be fair. I knew what my last post was. I was at Range Control, Centerlager, that you was on about earlier. And I was going to be the BDO for that in my last 2 years. So all I actually needed was the REBD side. I was forced to do the whole course. I wanted to do it. But I was never going to use it. I'm never going to see an IED in Centerlager Ranges.
Hopefully not.
Well, yeah, you kind of hope not. But still gutted that I didn't get through it. And there's many, many people that don't. Many, many people that don't. But yeah, getting through the REBD course, that was a biggie. Section commanders, it's not an easy course.
No.
Field sergeants, really not an easy course, because they really, really push. And again, if you know what you're doing for your last 2 years, and then you get on your REBD course, sorry, not REBD, Field Sergeant's course, and you're doing route recce's, you're doing bridge recce's, you're doing all the rest of this, and in the back of your mind you're thinking, never going to do this. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, probably the wrong mindset, but that was a hard course. It's intentionally a hard course, so you don't end up with crap sergeants.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But, hey, I got it anyway. What can I say? Yeah, they were some pretty hard courses.
Yeah. So,
And then the biggest achievement was getting out, because that's the hardest course on the bleeding planet, and I still ain't passed it.
no, indeed. Well, which brings us nicely then. So, why did you leave?
Royal Engineers are always offered the Eng, so basically an extra 2 years. Took that, and then asked for an extension for another 2 years, and Records basically said, no, right, you've done your time to go. So that was me. I was very gracious in a way that the CO at the time, he was running DIO Centerlager, says, right, put together a plan, resettlement plan, get all your dates, get all your leave in there, submit it. And he basically authorised me to have 9 months gardening leave. Not a lot of people get gardening leave, and they certainly don't get 9 months.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he was doing that because he thought I'd need the extra transition at Civvy Street. I don't know what it was. But basically being a civvy, but still being paid for 9 months, certainly helps. But it doesn't prepare you.
No.
It doesn't prepare you at all.
Well, that brings us on to the next subject heading. How was it leaving and just into Civvy Street? I mean, you know, you've touched on it.
I found it very hard. Very hard. The way people talk, there's bills didn't even know existed. Water in, water out. Didn't know that was 2 separate bills. Don't pay one, get cut off by the other. So you come home from work and you haven't got water. Well, hang on, I've paid that water bill. Yeah, but you haven't paid that one. What are you on about? I mean, that's just a quick example. But I spent the last 4 years in the mess through a divorce. Bills you never even presumed or could even think about, and suddenly it's all shoved your way. Luckily, Forces Financial helped massively to help me get my first mortgage on a very low interest rate, so I recommend that to anyone who's getting out. Yeah, just the conversion from the system and regimented system that you've lived for 24 years with a definite structure. You then go to Civvy Street, and if you don't know how to do it, it don't get done.
Yeah.
Unless you've got, I'll say it, the balls, put your hand up, admit you don't know what you're bloody doing, and ask for help. And that sometimes is one of the hardest things in the world. And we all know that.
Don't we just? So basically, you know, from what you're saying there, you weren't prepared for Civvy Street.
No, not at all.
Because,
not at all.
Because when you're in, it's never ending, isn't it? It's never going to come to an end. You don't think about that, the end part.
Yeah, I don't know if this makes it worse, is I did know it was going to come to the end. I had this feeling that they would turn around and say, no, right, time, you're done. And I didn't really prepare myself, which we were laughing about it earlier, 5 or 7 Ps.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know what it is, but I didn't
preparation
prepare.
and planning prevents piss poor performance.
I didn't want to say it, there you go. I didn't. And then I got the shock of my life. Because just the way you can talk to people in military life, you can't with civvies. Because they'll just get offended and it will get you nowhere.
Yeah.
They haven't got our sense of humour. They find it offensive where we think we're just having a giggle.
Yeah, they haven't got the mindset, have they? Yeah.
It's just an awkward one. You have to get your head round the way Civvy Street works. And if you've been institutionalised for the last 24 years, that's a hell of a change.
It's a hell of a change, indeed. So, what were your biggest challenges then, in all of that?
I'd have to say financial. Never had a mortgage before. I got it out at 42. So yeah, I started it far too late. Never had a mortgage before. I've never had water bills. Obviously you pay council tax, but it used to come directly out of your wages. Your car tax. I was in Germany. Not an issue. Got cheap fuel.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
I smoked Marlboro at the time. Tax free in Germany. Wow. That punched the pocket. Hence why I've now smoked baccy. There's no way I was still going to buy 2 cartons of bleeding Marlboro, not back in the UK, not without taking out a second mortgage anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, financial I'd say was the biggie. And I've already touched on it, learning how to talk to people. Because if you approach someone like they were military, you just don't get results because they think you're taking a piss.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, dramas and hardships then. I mean, you've got a bit of a drama going on at the minute with your leg. Yeah,
well, it's been 4.5 months now, and I'd say the biggest drama I've had is the boredom. I've been self-employed, so when this happened, you lose, well, your wages, simple as that. Because of my military pension, and my missus then preempted the fact that no money's coming in. She's doing 2 jobs. So with a military pension and her 2 wages, we qualify for absolutely sod all else. It's hard to take, you know, you work your knackers off for 24 years, and when you go to ask for the first time for help, you get nothing. So Universal Credit has given me zero, zilch, nothing. So we've worked around it. I've borrowed money off of family and friends, which I didn't want to. Yes, I've got a lawyer involved, and yes, I hope there's some money at the end of it. But at the moment, I can't see the end of the tunnel. Being sat on that sofa for 4.5 months did really get me down. I was having constant rows with my missus. I then started drinking and went into depression. Plus she's knackered. Vicious circle of constant arguments. And then the kids were getting the backlash. I'm lucky, very lucky, because like I said, the hardest thing to do is ask for help. My missus spoke to my mum without my knowledge. My mum phoned me and said, look, I've got hold of Safa. Please do me a favour, give him a ring. I thought, right, okay, now it's starting to hit home, but I'm pissing people off. I phoned Safa, spoke to them. A lady called Gwen came out, who's my caseworker. Stopped drinking. That sorted the depression out a bit. And Safa, and she then got hold of the REA and the associated people that come with the REA. So you got the main REA, then you got REA bomb disposal side. Have been absolutely brilliant. Because there's no money coming in, they've been giving me food parcels. They've helped out with prescription bills. I have a guy that turns up once a week and he just sits there for 2 hours and we just shoot the shit. That is by itself. I didn't know it till the second time I was speaking to him. The bloke's a lieutenant colonel, but to me he's Jimmy.
Yeah.
And we're talking like we're talking now, and it means a vast amount. It really does mean a lot.
But I think if I can just jump in there, I think, you know, for a lot of veterans, being able to talk to somebody in the same language, and I don't mean Swahili or anything, I mean Army speak, or Navy speak, or Air Force speak. You know, it takes you to a place where you're comfortable, because, you know, I'm still adjusting to Civvy Street, and I left in '98.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been a struggle, and it's one of the reasons I'm doing this, is to help me as much as, you know, I'd like to help other people, even if it is just going around and talking to them and getting their story.
Just sitting down and having a chat and shoot the shit.
Yeah.
That helps massively, that you didn't even realise. But the fact that you want to do this tri-service is brilliant. Because, I used to live in Gosport. I've got loads of naval mates. I used to jump out of aeroplanes, so I've got RAF mates. I was bomb disposal. I've then done the other side of the IEDD. So I've got loads of mates from the RLC, and they're all the blokes you meet on tour. And I worked for a BDO that was a naval diver in one of the Iraq tours. He was my BDO. Yeah. Willie Sharp. Awesome bloke. You meet so many different people. So what if you're different service?
Yeah.
You can still sit around and talk shit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way I see it, it doesn't matter what armour service you were, what cap badge you wore, what rank you were, and what job you did.
No.
We're all the same. We all dedicated a part of our lives, some longer than others, to the Crown, to the country, and to the people. And we did it. And
did it for a reason, because you loved it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I left after 14 years through my own stupidity, but there you go. And then I went back again after being out, 98, 6 years. I found out about a thing called reserve service, and I actually went and signed up for a job, and I went out and I went to Bosnia, and I did 2 tours back to back, doing that, and I did that for 6 years, and it was like coming home, and you know, and I tried to get back in again, but I was too old, basically, because I mean now they've changed all the ages now to retain people, because they got rid of a load of people when they shouldn't have done. As we all know, these options for change are not always for the best.
Nope.
The job carries on, doesn't it?
Yep.
But I remember the very first, because I left, my gran had just died, so the regiment let me go, and I think it was about 2 or 3 months early, So I was on gardening leave
Yeah.
until I had to go and have my ID card in. But I remember that it was past the midway point in the year, and my first Christmas, I put a tree up in my house, and I bought a house prior to leaving, so I did do a little bit of preparation. I mean, I wasn't planning on leaving, really. I planned on buying a house and putting somebody in it. I wasn't planning to end up in it. But I remember the very first Christmas, I put a tree up, put some decorations on. At that point, I didn't even have a job. I had a little bit of money in savings, and I put Nina Simone on.
Eh?
Nina Simone.
No idea.
Yeah, it's probably not your scene. You're into death metal and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, I put Nina Simone on. I got a bottle of port, and I drank it, and I cried.
Yeah.
And I don't think
Because you
I've
realise
ever
you
felt
sat there
so
by
lonely.
yourself.
I don't think I've ever felt so lonely.
Yep.
So that was my first Christmas out of the army, and then I got a job, paid £10,000 a year, which I couldn't sustain. Yeah, but it wasn't enough. I couldn't sustain it. I had a little infringement with the law as well, a bit of D&D. So I lost my license.
Yeah.
I lost the car because I couldn't pay for it, and then eventually I lost the house because I couldn't pay for that. But that was a lot of years ago, and since then I have moved on, and I don't think I've ever been more happy in work than when I've worked in the military environment. And I've done quite a lot of work in the military environment. German Guard Service.
Yeah.
I've done that. I've stagged on. Hey,
It was.
tell you what. Yeah, we did it in the army. It's like getting money for a roll rope.
Everybody's done it.
And doing it as a civvy is even better.
Yeah.
And the pay was all right. Living conditions were good at the time.
It comes down to the people you're around. You feel comfortable because you know you can talk to these people on a different level.
Exactly. And I think that's exactly what I'm trying to say, is the fact that, whatever job you do, in the last job I did, because I've just come back from Germany, in 2015 I went out as a contractor for the US Department of Defense, and I was doing basically a mechanic on their tracked vehicles. I worked on the Bradleys, which is very similar to the Warrior. So everybody that was working there, there was a lot of American ex-forces, and there was a lot of British ex-forces as well. There was a few civvies dotted about, but the mentality and the crack that we had and the stupid things we got up to, doing jousting, blindfolded, in the workshop and things like that. I've got a little film of that somewhere, me and Gordy doing it. So, preparation for Civvy Street is zero, isn't it? Unless...
Well, no, there's obviously, you get your resettlement and everything.
Yeah, but it's
not...
It's not geared around...
No.
It's not geared around being a civvy.
No, it's not geared around...
They spend a lot of money turning you into a soldier and a master of whatever trade it is that you end up doing, but nobody invests in you. Nobody deprograms you and turns you back into a civvy. You've got to do that bit on your own, and it's difficult. And like you say, when you come with when you interact with people that haven't served in the military, and certainly people that haven't had any ties to the military by family or anything, they have no idea what it is. We've got Remembrance Day coming up, and there's still people out there that don't even know what it's for.
No.
And it's
and
scary.
I'll start prepping my kit 2 or 3 days before.
Yeah.
And they just don't get it.
Yeah. So yeah, I know where you're coming from, and like I said, I came back from Germany in 2021. Was out there for 6 years working not only for the Americans. I did actually leave there and go and do a little stint with the Germany Guard Service again in Gütersloh before it got closed down. But I left there, and then I got another job working for a German security company, armed security, at the old Tower Barracks in Dulman. The British.
Don't know it, but yeah.
It was our logistics base.
Yeah.
Back in the day. and then drawdown came and it was handed back. The Americans took it as a forwarding base. So I ended up there, and then I became the site manager for the security company. I had 48 guys under me, all Germans and various other nationalities. There was one Brit, and that's what I did for well 2.5 years, and then decided it was time to come back because of Brexit and COVID and all the other stuff that was going on at the time. And then coming back to the UK is, well, it's been another culture shock because it's changed so much in the 6 years I was away. It was a different place.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, so if you had to give any advice to serving men and women of whatever arm, what would it be? I mean, I've you know, what about staying in? You know, there's a lot of people that join the military and think, oh, it's not for me, and they leave. Some people do that and regret it. Other people will do that because it's the right thing to do because they're not cut out for military life, because not everybody is. But what advice would you give to the serving men and women of today?
When I got to the 6-year point of my career, so when I was para-reg, I honestly considered signing off. We was in the middle of a recession back then, so that would have been 97, 98. I believe there was a recession going on. My old man took one. He heard me say sign off, and he went, "If you do that, you're an idiot." So the state of play with things at the moment, you enjoy the army, think about something else. So it was him that convinced me, don't just bin it, rethink what you can do. So I put in my transfer, went across to the engineers, absolutely loved it because I stayed. But if I got any resounding advice, we said it before, 7 Ps.
Yeah.
If you know you're getting out, prepare. Because the only person who's going to prepare you correctly is you. We've discussed it.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. But there's hidden bills out there, things you weren't expecting, and it's a hell of a culture shock.
Yeah. It certainly is.
Simply remember, there's people out there that will help.
Yeah.
Quite simple.
Yeah. It's the hardest thing in the world to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness, people. It is probably the most heroic thing you will ever do. And if you want help or need to chat, then go to the website. Links are in the description. Speak to me. Tell me your story. I'll gladly come to wherever you are, unless you're in Mexico. In fact, I'd love to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
I just can't
I'll
afford
come with
it
you.
at the minute.
I'll be your camera boy.
Right, so thanks very much for your time, Billy, and for telling your story. We'll do a bit more in depth on the bomb disposal and Ireland in separate topics. We'll do some podcasts, and we'll go into a bit more detail in that, because doing 24 years of service in this very short space of time is not enough. So we can do more detailed stuff on there. So guys, if you want to hear more, then make sure you jump on the website, have a look, and pick up on the podcasts. And please like and subscribe. And to Billy, thank you once again. And any last things you want to say as we wrap up?
Whilst you're there, enjoy it. Not much more you can say more than that. Yeah. If you enjoy what you do it well.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next vid.